I told you earlier, this is our Viratham, our prayer for human rights. We have been denied human rights. We have been forced to live in indignity for almost 200 years. For 150 years, the British government oppressed us, took away our pride and dignity. We achieved independence in 1957. We thought we'll be free and free people, independent people, but we are not free, we are not independent. What is clear now is that the Malaysian Indians are a permanently colonialized community. That is very clear. It is the intention of the government to oppress, suppress and marginalize the Indian community. We were the manual workers, the labor force of this country, even before independence and post-independence. But after 1970 onwards, since the rubber plantations were acquired by the government, the Indian community, almost 3/4 of them from the estate environment were forcibly displaced from their land. When they came to Malaya 150 to 200 years ago, they were promised land of a minimum of 5 acres of land should they complete their 2-year indenture labor or contract labor. And this undertaking was given to them with the consent of the Malay rulers then in the Malay states. But they have been cheated for many years, and in 1957 they were already second and third generation and fourth generation Malayans, Malayan born Indians in this country. Yet they live on hope. They live on hope and believe that the government of the day would take care of them. Unfortunately, it is obvious that the government failed in their duties to protect and care for these people who are the main contributor to the country's economy right up to 1970 when rubber price fell. We all know that the new economic plan was also initiated in the year 1970 or 71. I believe it's 1970. And Tun Razak then said that the new economic policy would eradicate poverty irrespective of race. And so the country's budget, a large chunk of the country's budget was allocated under the new economic policy to uplift the poor community. A total of 1.15 trillion has been spent under the new economic policy and the subsequent policies. But what is obvious is during the same period when NEP was initiated, the estate workers were made displaced in stages and they were neglected, completely neglected by the government. There were no economic programs for them. There were no alternative housing for them, no compensation. Their temples were demolished on grounds that these were built illegally. At that time, the total Indian population in 1957 was 800,000. But today we have close to 2 million population. But the Tamil schools then were 888 in total. Today we have 523. The community has increased threefold, but the number of schools have gone down. We have exhausted all our appeals to the current government. We had believed that opposition coalition, which won big because of us, would be serious enough to look into the human rights violation of the Indian community. But it is shocking to see now that they are talking the multiracial language. They say they are for all races. Yes, we agree. Malaysia has to move away from the race-based politics. We agree with that. But for that to happen, then all racial provisions in the constitution has to be removed first. Clearly, Article 153 is a racist provision. It has to be removed. Now, will they remove it? No. When they go to the Malay heartland, they assure the Malay community that their rights will be protected forever. When they go to a mixed crowd, they talk about multiracialism. When they see the poor Indian crowd, they tell them, not to worry, we are here to take care of you. This is absolute cheat and nonsense. All this cheating has to stop. We have been living in indignity, we have lost our rights, we got no human rights in this country. We are slaves in our own country. We are not free people. And this hunger, Viratham, is to show the people that it is time for them to assert their rights. It is time they rise. It is time they say they want their human rights. Voting in the elections alone is not going to solve their problems. We have voted, the Indian community have voted for 12 elections. And what did they get? They get nothing. All they get is the mercy. They were given peruntokans here and there. Some of them have been made councillors. Some of them have been given contracts. This is not human rights. It is time we get our human rights. It is time we live in dignity. So this hunger Viratham is all about getting our human rights and living in this country with dignity. If Pakatan is true to their words that they care for human rights, if they care for a national issue, the 800,000 displaced Indian community is a national issue. It's not an Indian issue. Statelessness issue is a national issue. Demolition of places of worship is a national issue. Denial of education is a national issue. Denial of economic opportunities is a national issue. It cannot be racial. It cannot be racial. They are cheating us. It's absolutely ridiculous to say that we are narrow in our approach. No, the United Nations conventions are very clear. Every ethnic group has a right to champion and raise their issues to the country. Very clear. The international provisions made it very clear. But in the eyes of these narrow-minded politicians, we are racist.